Okay, so we're looking at different mannerisms that people display when they are in deceit, lying, or not being as candid as they could be. So I'm just looking at this guy here, and I'm not saying that he's lying at all, but what I'm saying is I'm going to show a little bit of, it's sort of poking of the tongue, which is on the same path as duping delight. Now, poking of the tongue is like a lick of the lips, and it depends on the context that you're in, whether it is actually poking of the tongue. Sometimes it's just straight licking your lips because you're dry, but that could also be you're licking your lips because you're nervous. So a lot of people who are nervous just lick their lips, and they're not hiding anything. Let's have a look at this guy, and he's talking about the London attack, which just happened around about June the 4th. So let's have a look.
He was going around. He had this boldness about him, in a sense, but like, I'm not saying he is bold at all, because he isn't, but he just, the way he goes around, no care at all.
Yep.
Right there. So you saw his tongue come through, and he was talking about a terrorist, and the terrorist, he poked his tongue out at him as a subconscious gesture to say, basically, up yours. This is an example of why we poke our tongues out, and it's subconscious, and it's just a flick of the tongue in and out. And now we're going to look at Bill Clinton, and we're going to look at that famous speech where he denies having an affair with Monica Lewinsky. Let's have a look at a cluster of micro expressions and mannerisms.
But I want to say one thing to the American people.
When we narrow the eyes, especially with Clinton here, he's angry, and he wants to basically leave him alone because he is trying to portray that he's telling the truth.
I want you to listen to me. I'm going to say this again.
And he does want you to listen. He did nod, but then he moved back. And he moved his body back, and that means he's trying to step away from the question, step away from the situation.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Okay, right there. We saw this is the furrowing of the forehead and the bringing together of the eyebrows. This is typical of fear. And when we are in fear, we typically do this, even if it's a micro expression and it may only just flash like 1/25th of a second. His was a bit longer. And he slams his mouth closed. What I mean by that is he's no longer allowing the energy flow to come out or anything to come back in. He's telling you what the situation is.
Miss Lewinsky.
And again, okay, so Miss Lewinsky, he nodded his head. I did not have sexual relations. So there isn't any shaking of the head. I did not have sexual relations with anyone. And as we know, he did have sexual relations with her. And that's why you see the nod there.
I never told anybody to lie.
There you go, not a single time. Narrowing of his eyes, and he's looking side-eye. Now, side-eye is also a micro-expression that you might want to check out on people. When they're giving you the side-eye, they don't trust you, or they don't trust what they're going to say to you, and they don't trust how you're going to react to them. And as you'll see that he didn't tell anyone to lie, there's a sense of truth in his own mind. However,
not a single time.
Never. There's a little bit of fear popping up again. So if he did tell someone to lie, they could come back and say, you're lying. That's where the fear's coming in.
These allegations are false.
You look at his finger, it's kind of pointing this away instead of where he's looking, which is over this away.
These allegations are false.
Even though he's pointing that way, his hand is going down this way. He should be pointing and moving it that way.
And I need to go back to work for the American people.
And that's what he wants to do. Mouth closed again, slammed shut. So this is Diane Downs, who supposedly murdered her children on a country road. She lied by saying that a man came along and murdered her children. But let's have a look at some duping delight on her mouth.
I close my eyes, I can see Christy reaching her hand out to me while I'm driving, and the blood just keep coming out of her mouth. And that, maybe it'll fade too with time, but I don't think so. That haunts me the most.
Okay, right there. Duping delight, people. Duping delight. That is where she's talking about something which is completely horrific and grief-stricken, which she should be, and yet this woman is smiling in an appropriate place. They show it little flashes. Remember, it's only 1/25th of a second. This is Marina Oswald For those of you who don't know who she is, she's the wife of Lee Harvey Oswald. And in this interview, after he was arrested for killing John F. Kennedy, you can see some duping delight. You can also see a little contempt coming through, lack of eye contact, and hard swallowing. I don't know her baseline, but she is displaying a cluster of mannerisms that are kind of not very candid.
Did Lee ever tell you that he was going to do this?
He never done tell me this. And this was a very bad surprise for me.
A very bad surprise, and right there you saw her lip go up just a tad, and then she looks at the camera because she's worried that you have figured her out. She had a slight tilt of the head, which is a critical yes, and it can mean I'm not that trustworthy. There you go, and let's look at her mouth right now. Right there, guys. So you saw her tongue poke through. It's a subconscious way of saying, nah, 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 I know something you don't know. It's from when we were kids, when we poke our tongue out a lot, just for fun, but she's doing it as an adult. These are clusters of deceit. Here's an example from Jodi Arias, who killed her boyfriend, and this is her trial, and she's sort of crying but not crying. Notice how there's no tears coming through. There's stretched mouth, which is over exaggerated.
I knew that my life was pretty much over, but I didn't want anyone to know that that had happened or that I did it.
Okay, here's the thing. When her mouth is not pointed down, she's not really in sadness. She's actually pulling her mouth across her face.
So I started taking steps, or what I could do in the aftermath of it, to try to cover up that I was there. So I did a whole bunch of things to try and make it seem like I wasn't ever there.
When she wiped her nose, you don't hear a sniff with the mucus going down her throat. You see a lot of eye closing and no actual tears coming down her face. So there's a good example of non-crying faking. And so this next one is where she's talking about the tone of her boyfriend, how he threatened her, and what she felt about it.
To try and make it seem like I wasn't ever there.
Is there something about a certain decibel of the voice that creates problems?
Decibel, tone, content, sort of a combination of those factors.
So there's a whole lot of things going on. So basically what she's saying is, yes, he scared her, but she had pulled her lip here, which shows contempt, and it's probably contempt for the lawyer asking her these questions. Not only that, she had a massive duping delight.
Decibel, tone, content, sort of a combination of those factors.
Lacking of eye contact as well. And there you go. So that huge duping delight, it's not even a flash, it's pure body language there. She's feeling superior because she feels she's duped everyone in the room, and including the lawyer, including the jury sitting over this way. What a lot of people will look at, they'll think something's wrong, but they won't know what it is. See, this smile shouldn't be there, especially in the context of what's happening.
Just stunned.
So even the lawyer says he's stunned at her reaction, and she's looking down, still with duping delight, like a little bit guilt found out. Thanks for watching. This is The Dialogue. Please like and subscribe. Ding my bell.